We're going to make a brief switch in the order of the Rishima that I've been given, as we have no wine yet. So I'm going to do the sermon first, and then we're going to turn to the wine. So I hope nobody whines about it. Sorry about that. Shabbat Shalom, it's absolutely right, and Shana Tova. It's great to see so many faces, some that are new, some that are getting familiar, as Shelley and I settle in here in Saratoga, Cupertino, San Jose, this whole wonderful area of the South Bay. Now, I wasn't looking forward, I have to admit, to doing two versions of my sermon on tomorrow morning. And because, it makes it difficult and you have to, think twice and have a good delivery, but it does allow you, of course, to correct mistakes if you make some. So that is a benefit, but I wasn't really looking forward to it. But it was going to give me a good opening for my sermon tonight. And the opening for my sermon tonight was, wow, tomorrow morning I'm going to be giving two Divrei Torah, and if I make a real mess of the first one, I get to do tshuva, and then I can do the second one. And that was a good opening for me, because I really think that we need to be considering what we can do to be better people. Rosh Hashanah is like the secular New Year in that we're supposed to be starting to make resolutions, but the difference between Rosh Hashanah and the secular year is really for today, if we believe the words of the Unatanic Tokef, even metaphorically, these decisions make a difference. These decisions shape our lives. These decisions shape the kind of future that we build for ourselves and for our families. In other words, New Year's resolutions are forgotten within a week. Hopefully, at least, Rosh Hashanah resolutions will last a month or two. Or maybe, hopefully, the entire year. Now, I was thinking a lot about how we need to take these days seriously and the kinds of metaphors that I can use. And I came upon an interesting op-ed in the New York Times, I think it was yesterday or the day before. And the op-ed was talking about the Unatana Tokef and its serious message that we live in a dangerous world shaped by negative outcomes as well as positive outcomes. And we have to take the time to realize that we are alive now, we can make a difference now, we can change now, and that's what's important. The Unatana Tokef reminds us that the world is uncertain, and therefore, because of its uncertainty, we need to be ready to change, we need to be willing to change, because if not now, when? And of course, Facebook is always wonderful. I don't know how it does it, but it always comes up with something that is actually apropos to what I'm thinking about. It's almost like it's spying on me, I wonder. And there were actually two examples of that. The first one was a quote from Rabbi Nachman that says, we have to take every day seriously and use every day as a time for change and becoming the best person we can be, because if we don't use it that way, why should we be given another day? That we need to take advantage of the days we have and make them the best we can, and thus we deserve to have another day to continue that process of reshaping ourselves. And that was important. I was thinking about that because there is a legend from the Talmud that I often share, which goes something like this. There was a king, he had a spectacular diamond, and somebody dropped it, and the diamond sustained a terrible scratch. And the king was horrified, everybody in the country was horrified, but finally a jeweler came from a distant place, took the scratch, used it as the stem, and carved a rose into the diamond. And thus the diamond was even more beautiful than it had been before. And that really has always struck me as a model for life, that we are going to have times where we make mistakes. We are going to have times when things happen to us that are sad, when we ourselves might be ill or someone we love passes away, or things just don't seem to be going our way. But if we take the strength that we've been given and take these events, both the happy events and the sad ones, and allow them to shape us to be better people, then indeed our lives are more beautiful, even for the sad things that happened. And that really is what tshuva is about. In our tradition, each of us begins as that perfect diamond, and then we go through life. Then we see realities, and our choice is, do we allow these to sink us? Do we allow our mistakes to lead us into making more and more mistakes? Or do we turn around? That's what tshuva means, and return and be the best people we can be. Now my second example from Facebook. And this one, in a sense, seemed totally off the wall, but was very special to Shelley and me, and I want to share it. So I was going through Facebook yesterday. I was taking a break from thinking about what I'll say tomorrow. And suddenly, up on Facebook came this beautiful Japanese porcelain cup, which has sustained a terrible damage. And the person who owned it had taken gold and used gold to repair the cup, so that the cracks were now filled with gold. And in many ways, just like that diamond, the cup was even more beautiful for its imperfections than it was when it was whole. This is called in Japanese kintsugi and is very common. In fact, Shelley took a class on it when we were in Japan, and we had a beautiful mug that we loved that was repaired that way. And indeed, the mug was more beautiful, but less functional than it had been. But kintsugi is a way, it's a reminder to us of the impermanence of the world. It's a reminder to us of the imperfections that we face in the world, and that how we deal with the imperfections that we have in ourselves, how we deal with the imperfections we see around us, speaks to who we are and the kind of lives we want to live. If we just see the cup and it's cracked, the mistakes we made that lead us astray, and we do nothing, then the cup will always remain in pieces. But if we engage in a process of repair, litaken olam b'malchut Shaddai, if we enter into a process of tikkun, then we can make ourselves more beautiful as the gold does to the cup, and we can make the world around us more beautiful despite its imperfections. Kintsugi is based on a Japanese idea of wari-sabi, meaning seeing beauty in even the imperfect. And that is something that's a challenge for many of us. Sometimes we like our houses to be so perfect and so clean, and nothing can be astray. And we like the world to be that way too, exactly as we want it to be. And we judge the world exactly as we want it to be. But if we can open our eyes and see the imperfections around us and realize that those imperfections and differences make the world even more beautiful, then we're seeing that cup repaired by gold. Then we're really entering into a process of tshuva, turning around, moving away from despair, moving away from fear of imperfections, instead moving towards making a better and more beautiful world. And according to my Japanese teacher, this idea of kintsugi is based on an even more fundamental idea in Japanese, which is mushin. Now, mushin means exactly the same thing as tshuva. What it means is the acceptance and the willingness to change. That's what we need to be doing over this Rosh Hashanah. We need to be willing to change. We need to be ready to change. And we need to be taking the first steps as we daven tomorrow, as we go through the day, and even as we eat the festive meals. We need to be ready to change. We need to be ready to say, I'm sorry. And we need to be ready to accept our imperfections, but not allow them to sink us, but instead to allow us to become even more beautiful. Mushin, or tshuva, is the challenge that we face over the coming days, Yatzeret Yemei Tshuva, the 10 days of tshuva. We have a beginning now. This is our start. In front of us, we each have a broken cup. And the choice we have as we begin this process of the holy days this year is to leave the cup broken, to not do anything about our imperfections, to not do anything about the mess we've made in the world or in our families or in our lives. Or we have the choice to say, we're going to repair that. We're going to repair the cup that we have in front of us with gold. And yes, it won't be perfect. Nothing in this world is perfect. But despite that, its imperfections can lead it to be, and lead us to be, even more beautiful than we were before we began the process. So I want to wish everyone Shana Tova. I hope everyone has a wonderful process of tshuva, that we become at one with each other, become at one with our families, become at one with the world, so that we're ready when we get to Yom Kippur for God to say, Slachti kidvarecha, I forgive you as I have said. Shana Tova.